Hello, Julia. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for your time and for coming. It's quite a windy day. I can see your hair is like flying. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where you grew up? And what was your childhood like?
Yes. So I grew up in Russia, and I grew up in an interesting town that is not on the map. But so it was a town of scientists, and so math and physics were you know, were in my environment from my childhood. And my dad was an artist, and my mom was a programmer.
What was the town again? The name of the town? And where,
Uh,
where is it in terms of Moscow?
it's a little bit south of Moscow.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be talking about the location of the town,
Okay,
though.
okay. But
I'm
it's,
not
it's in
allowed
Russia.
to. Yes, it's in Russia.
Okay, sure. I respect the privacy.
Oh, it's not about the privacy. It's
It's
the
this.
town is not on the map officially.
Oh, it's not even okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. So, how many? How old were you, or how many years ago did you arrive in America as an immigrant?
Yes. So I came here when I was 30 years old, which is about 25 years ago, and that was very interesting as an experience. It was very challenging.
So you'd lived in Russia for 30 years.
Correct.
So do you think even after living here for 25 years, do you feel like you're still Russian, or you have become American in some way?
It's very interesting. So when I went back to Russia, which was about probably 10 years ago, I found myself in a situation of a reverse cultural shock. So apparently, I so much adjusted here in the US that going back was actually challenging. So I think when we live in another country for a long time, you know, I find myself to be neither, and taking maybe the best out of each country, out of each culture. But that's how I grew up as well, because I'm from a mixed family. And so even as a child, I learned to take the best out of each culture I was exposed to.
What were the challenges that you faced when you went back? I mean, can you like you were acting more American?
Yes, apparently I softened a lot.
Can you give me a little
So
example?
yes, absolutely. So in Russia, you do have to like watch your back when you have especially in Moscow, like watch your purse, watch your back. And apparently, I lost that skill. And so I wasn't holding on to my bag firmly, for example. Or I noticed, especially in Moscow, people oftentimes develop thick skin to those beggars on the street. There are people asking for money on the street. When you enter the metro, you have to go through the row of them. And I noticed that the locals stopped reacting to them, for example. And I was very caring. And so just little things like that, what the society is used to, it takes as normal, was no longer common or normal for me.
So were you shocked that people were not reacting to the beggars,
Yes.
or were people were shocked that you were reacting too much to the beggars?
I was shocked how much people are used to this, seeing poverty, seeing pain, seeing illness, and almost like they're so used to it, they become immune to it. And this was surprising to me because I found myself, like feeling compassion, trying to help, and noticing all those people on the street. And I noticed people in Moscow would just simply walk by and not even notice.
Do you
Yeah,
think? Sorry, do you, can I?
yeah,
Okay. Do you think if you had lived in New York City the whole time here, would you have been um,
I guess
n-
so.
more used to it?
I guess so. I think it's the problem of bigger cities. You're right. And so if I were in New York, I think it's what we're exposed to. If what we're exposed to, and sometimes we learn to ignore the challenges or the difficulties that we see in others. And but that is not who I am right now. And what I do is, it's compassionate serving of other people. And so I could not notice.
Right. Very interesting. That has become your work, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my work,
Yeah.
and
Right.
so I'm very sensitive to that.
Right.
I'm very
Right.
sensitive to suffering as
Right.
well. So I wouldn't probably do very well in India either.
We will talk about your work a little bit more in depth, but I want you to tell us a little bit about how you were different when you came and how people saw you, because you looking at you, people might think you're just another American woman, but you are actually, you have a different upbringing. You read different books growing up, right? You went to different
Yeah.
kinds of schools and different values. And how did you fit in? How did you um, assimilate in America?
Yeah, well, assimilation was not easy. First of all, when I came to the US, I had a British Russian accent, and that didn't serve me any good. No one could understand
Right.
a thing I was saying. So it's the Russian British combination that got me in trouble. I remember I had an old car when I first came, of course, right? An old car, then a very old one. And my battery in my car died. And I remember asking someone to jump start my car, and I said, my batteries are flat. That's how you would say it in
Flat. Right.
Britain, right?
Right.
My
Right.
batteries are flat. And people were like, what?
You want a round battery?
Like, what happened to your battery?
Right.
Why is it flat? It was kind of
But you
funny.
finally, you somebody helped you, right?
Yeah, finally they
Okay.
figured out that I was,
So don't get your batteries flat in America,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, exactly.
And what other challenges did you have? Cultural? Did you make any cultural faux pas, like mistakes and
Oh my
like driving on
gosh,
the wrong?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh
tell me
my
more.
gosh. And it is really funny. First of all, the basics. When I came to the US first, I didn't know how to open a carton of milk because this was different from what I was used to. And so I remember, trying to figure out how to do the most basic things, how I open a carton of milk. I remember I went to the swimming pool, and in the swimming pool they have those dryers. I had to figure out how to use the dryers, in the swimming pool to dry my clothes. I had to figure out the system of like lockers, and do I take this with me? Do I not take this with me?
Mm.
Uh, Culturally, it's just there were so many adjustments
Did you have
overall.
like behavioral differences? Like people in America can sound very excited, when they see you the first time, and they get like, "Oh, hello, great to see
Yeah,
you," and that may not be the same in every country. Do you think that when you see a Russian person and they act like they've known you for years, or yeah,
yeah. So what was challenging for me is that in Russia, especially neighbors of friends, they were welcome to come over anytime, right? So you have some close friends. What I found quickly in the US, that when people ask you how are you doing, they're not really looking to hear how you're doing. It's a simple question, so it's sometimes it's a surface level, and it doesn't go deeper than that.
it only means hi,
It only means hi. They don't need the story. So
right?
and so this was an adjustment, and it was interesting, just like to watch the reaction, to know what is expected, what is common, what is not.
Right.
But it's all possible to adjust as long as you're open to this, right?
Yeah.
And observe and watch. It's all doable, but it
Do-
takes a little bit of
Right.
time.
How about the work situation? What kind of work did you do in your country?
Yes. So this was probably the biggest challenge for me because in Russia I used to have my own market research firm,
What kind of forum? Okay. Okay.
research, data analysis, Russian. And so I used to have a market research firm, and um, the first job I did in the U.S. was selling jewelry at a jewelry store.
Why?
Me selling jewelry because um, it took me a while to get my documents in order. So it took me a while to also be accepted and get my education going. So
Can
the
you tell him? talk a little bit more about your education. How did you make your education valued here? Did you have to go to some agency? What did you do?
Absolutely. So first things first, I had to. I think it was called. I had to confirm that my education in Russia was acceptable in the U.S. And so I went through this process, and my degree was actually the level of my degree was similar to a master's degree in the U.S. However, it was marked as bachelor's for some reason. And another issue that I had is that in Russia, I started my PhD in social psychology and sociology. And I was told when I came to the US, I have to restart the program from scratch. And I found this to be crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't want to redo the coursework again. And
that's like
so
a lot of work, right?
it's a lot of work. And so I didn't realize that my transfers in social psychology
It's useless.
useless. Exactly. So what I did actually, I quickly realized that in the U.S. no one cared what experience I had in Russia. They cared about what experience I had in the U.S.
Mhm.
and what education I had in the U.S. So because I quickly realized that I need to almost like confirm my education and continue it in the U.S., what
So did
I
you say
did,
burn?
I'm sorry,
Did you say burn your education? What did you say? Like
uh, I, I, I,
earn your education, right? Like you said like
I needed to continue my
continue, right? Okay,
education
sorry.
and confirm,
Confirm, right? Okay.
yes, validate it. And
Right.
so to validate my education, I thought, okay, I don't want to restart my PhD program from scratch again.
Hmm.
So I looked into an MBA program, and so I completed one in 2.5 years.
You got an MBA?
I got an MBA
Oh,
degree
wow.
from University of Maryland, and that was a life-changing experience for me. As soon as I graduated with my MBA degree, all of a sudden,
Mhm.
my previous work experience
Was
counted,
okay.
was okay,
Yeah.
and my previous education was also okay, it was
Mm.
acceptable. And so now I oftentimes give people this recommendation. It doesn't matter what experience or education you had in another country, it is very important
Mm.
to get additional education in the US
Mm.
or at least additional work experience. But what I found is that without good education here in the US, it's very challenging to validate or confirm your previous education
Thank you
or
so much. I
previous
was going to
degree.
ask you this question about the advice. What advice would you give to newcomers? You already have given advice. So you're
Yes.
saying that when you come to US and you already have some education from your country, try to go to school also again, right?
Try to go to school again, and if you have a bachelor's degree, try to get a master's degree. If you have a master's degree, try to get your PhD. This will confirm and validate your degree, and the employers will be looking at you very differently. So let me give it to you as an example. So my first job was at a jewelry store. That didn't last very long, as you can imagine. Then I started working as a almost like a part-time job consultant doing research and data analysis, and that paid about maybe $40,000 a year, right? After I completed my MBA, even though it was expensive, my salary jumped to about 75,000 immediately. So that's a jump of about 35,000 a year
Almost twice. Almost
immediately,
twice.
almost twice the salary, exactly. And so that's why I'm saying I saw the immediate benefit
Mhm.
right after I graduated. I was able to get a good professional job. And then it started growing from there, and um, I did miss, though, not finishing my PhD,
Mm.
but, uh, I wasn't planning to continue work in academia like you,
Mm.
and so I decided that it's okay.
Mm. Because you found a different path.
I found a different path,
Right, right.
correct, and
Yeah.
I continued on this path of
Mm.
being a professional researcher for a while. My recent position was a senior principal customer experience professional, right? However, um, I found myself in a situation of a deeper and deeper calling to do more charitable work, to help others, to do more healing. I found that I have certain abilities that other people might not,
Mm.
and so I wanted to help others and express this gift and this through energy healing.
So tell me about your most current work. What you're doing? What occupies you these days? Like, what's is it your personal business or what is it?
Yeah, so what I have is a chapel right now.
What do you
I
have it?
have is a chapel. I have a chapel. So
Okay.
I'm an ordained minister,
Hmm.
and what I do is energy healing currently. I did accept an offer just recently to continue serving the nonprofit, serving the community in a different way as well, in addition to being a minister. So
Congratulations.
thank you so much. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna also take on another position as a donor engagement at the local United Way. So uh, director of donor engagement. And which is my passion, serving the community, helping others. So that's my goal: continue serving the community and also helping people and doing more of that healing work, ministerial work, to support them and to guide them on a spiritual path.
So you work with individuals and companies both?
So, at what level?
Like,
Yes, the answer is yes.
okay.
But in my ministerial job or my healer as a healer, it's primarily one-on-one.
Mhm.
I also do group healings. In my other work and other positions, it's both organizations, corporate, as well as individuals.
So tell us a little bit about your switch from corporate world, from marketing and research after getting an MBA to this calling. How did you get this calling? Were you always spiritual in your life, or
I
was it more
was
recent?
not, and I grew up in Russia without much exposure to the religion or to the energy healing at all. But so for many years, I was in denial of my own abilities and my own potential. And I went with the sure route, which is making money using math and knowledge and in your brain. But in my heart, I always felt there's something more. And one day, about 15 years ago, I had this profound experience when my heart fully opened. And I realized that there's more to life. There's more to life than just making money, pursuing your career, um, and being in corporate, as well as serving even charitable organizations. And this calling has become more and more insistent with age. and um, and so I went through the ordination program with the Alliance of Divine Love, and I really wanted to pursue that side. Um, that is my calling. That is my heart desire, and this is what excites me also deeply: serving others, helping others, and yeah.
So you're quite satisfied now.
Absolutely, I feel
Okay.
much happier. I feel much happier, and in fact, yeah, it's the divine. I had a conversation with the divine. But it sounds strange.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with the divine,
Wow.
and I was told that I'm supposed to be doing more of that work, of the healing and serving.
Do you think this calling that you had 15 years ago, this enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, did you
Uh,
think you would have had it if you had never left Russia, or was it something to do with you being in a different country, you being out of your comfort zone in a different land and a different culture?
That is a really good question, and I've been thinking about that as well. So I actually feel guided most often. I feel being guided, and I feel I had to come here for one reason or another. All of my experiences did contribute to that moment of enlightenment, And I think being here in the US actually opened me up to the ability and the possibility of that enlightenment experience, that heart opening experience of the soul, and of oneness. And I cannot tell you if it would have been impossible in Russia, but it probably would have been challenging. I think all of our experiences almost like push us or lead us to that event possibly. I do feel guided, as I said, so I don't argue anymore. If I'm given a position, I'll take the position. If I'm offered an interview, I'll take the interview because I never know what might come out of it.
Brilliant.
And
So you go with the flow.
I go with the flow. Exactly. The flow, I trust in the flow.
Right, right. Very nice. I'm so glad that you went with the flow and you agreed to do the interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so, do you have any ties still in Russia? Do you go back sometimes?
So I do still have some relatives. However, my parents passed away, and
Sorry.
that cut off the major connection that I had in Russia. And so I no longer feel, and in my spiritual work, I also realize myself more as a global citizen. I value my roots, I understand my roots. However, I think I outgrew them. And it's a very interesting position to be in, but it's like beyond.
Mhm.
So I feel like I want beyond.
So you're more than just Russian or American. You're more than that, right?
I'm more than that. And if you look at us spiritually, we are souls, and it is, this is a temporary shell, right? And the environment is also temporary. The heart and the soul is what's eternal.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Um, I'm trying to think. This is a very interesting conversation. You look so much at peace and happy, right? I think the energy also that you carry also transfers when you're talking to people, and it just you don't even have to say much. You just you can feel the vibes, and looks like you came to America and then you started to realize or wonder about who you are, what you're about, and then that led to one thing to the next, and then finally you arrived at where you are now.
I'm at a happier place for sure. Happier place for sure. I think all of our life experiences are perfect the way they are, but it doesn't matter where we start, right? It doesn't matter where we start. There are deeper truths. I mean, it's important to value your roots as well. As I said, I went actually through this exercise about my parents and about my culture. I wrote down what was good about my culture and my upbringing, and what was something that is good to drop. And so I wrote down all the things I want to take with me into the life now, and the things that I want to drop. And so I selected. I selected what I want to carry, and it's a beautiful process, and it's very freeing.
Wow. Julia, I have one last question. Do you think when people leave their home country, their home, or go to a different country to live, totally different culture, you think, I mean, it comes with challenges, right? To adjust with
Absolutely,
in a new world,
absolutely,
but it also brings opportunities,
absolutely.
right? And not just money wise or career wise, but also you evolve as a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Challenges for sure. I remember my first year, I cried. I missed my friends. I missed my family. I missed everything I was used to. And so, was it challenging? Absolutely. And I had to rebuild my life from scratch.
At age 30.
At age 30, I had to completely rebuild my life. I had to restart my career. I had to restart my education. Everything, uh, I had to start from a clean slate, and that's challenging. However, in this challenge lies an opportunity to rebuild, to become someone new, to become someone better, right? To choose, to select, and there are opportunities, and they're beautiful opportunities in the US as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a
I
lovely
appreciate it.
conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.